how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Well, the week is moving on, and the news is moving on, too. Lots of big things in the news that are going on. But perhaps first, the biggest thing we should talk about is Right Side Coffee.
Oh, yes, of course. Is there anything more important than a good cup of Right Side Coffee to start your day, huh? If you have not tried Right Side Coffee, you're missing out. But you can rectify that. All you have to do is go to rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. That's our online website, and you'll see a lot of stuff there. We have hats, and we have mugs, and T-shirts, and sweatshirts, but we also have Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, medium blend roast and medium decaf roast. A delicious cup of coffee, the perfect way to start your day, whether you're a conservative or a liberal. Either way, you'll love the coffee. It's just that good. It's neutral when it comes to politics because flavor is neutral, and it's got a lot of good flavor. You'll love it. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. Also, we are the only brand of coffee that have Juan, Jose, and those incredible musical troubadours, the Border Crossers, sing our jingle. Here they are.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Also, we have another brand of coffee. It's called MAPA, M-A-P-A.
That's right.
Yeah, it stands for Make America Percolate Again. You like that? It's clever, huh? That's from our friend Bart down in Vero Beach, one of our really good friends, and he listens regularly. And he fortunately is also a creative guy, and came up with that and said, "Hey, try this for a brand." And here we are.
Somebody actually got, I guess they got a couple of packages of that as a gift.
Really?
Not for me, but they sent a picture of it. And I'll tell you what.
Yeah. You didn't buy it, Bill?
The packaging looks, no, I didn't buy it. But either way, the packaging, it looks great when you go to the website. But it looked awesome in the flesh. I was going, wow, it's even cooler than cool.
Wow.
And so I was going, yeah, it was kind of cool.
Hey,
somebody got it as a birthday present. So
it's the big story yesterday was Mark Fogel. Mark Fogel was a young teacher. I say young teacher. He's in his 40s or 50s. He's a teacher who taught over in Russia. I think he taught at an American school in Moscow. And about 3.5 years ago, for no good reason, he was swept up in a sting of some kind, and he was arrested, put in jail, and kind of forgotten about. I mean, the Biden administration did absolutely, positively nothing to get this guy out of prison. Trump's been in office, what? It'll be 3 weeks on Monday?
And he negotiated, got him out yesterday.
Yeah. And he came directly to the White House. He was greeted by the president, and he had this to say. Listen.
Know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. The senators and representatives that passed legislation in my honor to get me home are the heroes. I am in awe of what they all did. My family has been a force. I think my 95-year-old mother is probably the most dynamic 95-year-old on earth right now. And I am so indebted to so many people. I think I remember a Churchill quote that he said when the RAF was fighting the Luftwaffe, and he said that never have so many owed so much to so few. And I put myself, fortunately and unfortunately, into that category. And I said, never has one owed so much to so many that this superorganism of people that came to my support, and the love that I was given sustained me for 3.5 years in a prison that had me in hospitals for more than 100 days. I was given more than 400 injections in that time. And knowing I had the support of my fellow Pennsylvanians, my family, my friends, it was so overwhelming that it brought me to my knees and it brought me to tears. But it was my energy, it was my being that kept me going that whole time, and I will forever be indebted to President Trump, to Steve over there. What a dynamic man this guy is.
That's true.
When I met him, the energy, the can-do attitude just exudes from his body. And when he smiled at me and introduced me and I got the feel for what has happened, you know, it's not just me, it's everybody. And Secretary Rubio, who met my son a while back, I'm a middle-class school teacher who's now in a dream world.
We're going to show you the Lincoln bedroom in a little while. It's a very special place. Appropriate for tonight. Very appropriate.
And thank you all. And I love our country. And I'm so happy to be back here. And I wish I could articulate it better.
You've done beautifully, and he's got a great mother. And when I saw the mother at a rally, she said, if you win, will you get my son out? And I promised. She's 95 years old. And I said, we'll get him out. And we got him out pretty quickly.
She told me that exact words.
I remember. She made quite an impression.
And you also did.
Yeah.
And I'm in awe of what you've done and your team.
It's great to have you back.
Oh.
Gonna have a great life.
Now, what you don't know about that, the rest of the story, Trump met his mother, his 95-year-old mother, who came up to visit him. He met him in Butler, PA, on July 13th, and that very day, he was almost killed. That was the day that the assassination attempt took place. You would think, Bill, that a lot of, after someone's taken a shot at you, much of what you did that day would be forgotten, but not with this president. This president didn't forget that 95-year-old lady, and he made it a point. Nobody, by the way, talked about it. You didn't hear any rumblings about getting this guy out of the Russian prison. It was
he just did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the amazing thing is there are a lot of people that have asked him to do a lot of different things, and he's got a lot of things on his plate. And you're going, how does this guy keep up with everything that he does?
I don't know.
But somewhere, it's like his mind's got these little filing cabinets, and they all got little Post-it notes on it. So, as he scours through the cabinets in his mind, I got to do this. Okay, let's make that phone call right now. And he's got some negotiating skills, Bill, because
much to the chagrin of the left, what I've heard over and over again from people who know him or that the guy is literally a genius. I'm talking about Trump, mind you. Now, Elon Musk is a genius too. There are two very intelligent people in power. I say in power. Trump is in power, and he has made Elon Musk a consultant, an aide. Okay, but you have those resources now in this administration that you didn't have under Biden. Biden went home at 2:00.
Mm-hmm. Well, Biden didn't do anything. Obama was running the show, but Obama's losing his funding now, or the Obamas are, because of the divorce thing. But anyway, I digress. Jamie Raskin. He wants to impeach Elon Musk. And might I remind you that Elon Musk is not an elected official.
Yep. And here's how Jamie Raskin sounds.
Look, does not like the idea that a guy who would not even be constitutionally eligible to run for president is acting as president. A guy who, if he were president, would be impeached immediately because he's taking billions of dollars in foreign government emoluments from all over the world. And some people have actually been talking about impeaching President Elon Musk right now, on the theory that he's usurped the powers of the presidency. So I think,
in all honesty, these guys, he's an embarrassment. This guy, Raskin, he was the guy who said about a month ago that we're headed for a civil war. He's the guy who every time he gets a chance, he badmouths Trump. Every chance he gets.
That's all the Democrats do is hate, 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 hate. They attack your Christian faith, and they do everything that they can to throw out their little negative vibes out there, because if it's not on their agenda, or you're not speaking their agenda, even though they didn't get the message yet. I guess they didn't see the numbers. They haven't gotten the memo that they lost the damn election. And it is not what they want. It's what the will of the people want. And Elon Musk, no, he's not elected, so you can't impeach him. As a matter of fact, he's got to charter a job to do in a very short period of time. Doge is only there until 2026, somewhere in that year. It's done. So they got to march and move quick and, red out the bad. And that's what he's doing.
You were talking about the left and their meltdown. They've had these rallies in Washington, and honest to God, I've seen video of wide shots of the rallies, and they've tried to make it. The media tries to make it look like it's a big rally, but when you get a wide shot, and you can get these things on the internet now, it's like 100 people show up. They're all either Democrats or they are people who are being released from these different agencies, and they're trying to, resist, I guess. Kwasi Mfume is a longtime representative, a Democrat, and a radical. Here's what he said on the street.
This will be a congressional fight, a constitutional fight, a legal fight, and on days like this, a street fight. Yes, we will stand.
Okay, a street fight. Now, is that an inciting to riot? It sounds like it's an incitement to riot to me. But will these guys ever be brought to justice? I don't know. Maxine Waters, this lady has made more money as a representative. You wouldn't believe how much money she's made. She's been around forever, and all she likes to do is yell, scream, and cause trouble.
Wow, wow, wow. Look at this crowd. Elon Musk, where are you? Bring your ass over here so you can see who's here and what we're doing. We're not afraid of you. We know that you are the co-president now of the United States of America. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you to follow very closely what he's doing and how he has done it. First of all, we're here at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. What is it? This is so important. Prior to this being organized in the Dodd-Frank reforms, consumers didn't have any place to really file complaints. They didn't have anywhere to go when the biggest banks in America was ripping them off. The student loans were being undermined. They didn't have any place to go. Why does Elon Musk want to get rid of all of this? Because he's a thief. He's a gangster. He brings his billionaire friends along with him because they think that they can take over this country. And Trump has said, you give me enough money, you can have it.
Unbelievable. Just one vile lie after another from that woman. And she does it all the time without any consequences.
They use the bully pulpit, the microphone, and the camera angles and the tight shots and everything. And I once thought I coined a phrase, but it's out there everywhere. So it wasn't me, probably. But, perception is reality. But, I will coin a new one. Reality exposed defies perception. And the fact is, you really break down who it is and who they're talking to. And, you take all the optics out of it and just see them for what they are. In other words, pull back the lens. Like you said, no crowd there. She's talking to herself. Who is she talking to? Nobody.
She's talking to the leftist media. She's talking to their co-conspirators in the left-wing media, MSNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC, that they are give me a tight shot of Maxine. Keep it tight. Make it look like it's a good crowd.
Scripted speech and a tight shot, and you can win an election on it. Look back in 2020. Joe had nobody at the rallies, but there were no wide-angle shots. There were tight shots. Even Trump, when he had the big crowds and he picked on the media, they didn't want you to see the media, right. So they focused on different things. So that's my whole thing. Reality exposed is, it defies then the perception, because that's what they're doing. They're sculpting the perception. What we have to do is pull back the lens and let you see the beast.
Understand
the beast
something.
Is naked.
Understand something. That Elon Musk is getting nothing. He's not getting a paycheck for doing this.
No.
It's costing him money for doing this.
But now, one of the things they want to go after is government employees that seem to be profiting off of the government. They're making tens of millions of dollars on salaries that don't justify it. You've got people that have been dead for over 150 years collecting Social Security. Really?
Yeah.
You've been dead for that long. And who is your doctor?
Elon Musk was talking about this. He was in the Oval Office with President Trump and his little son. They call him Little X. And what a good little boy he was. He dutifully, he didn't cause any problem. He just stood next to his dad, listened to his dad talk about politics and government stuff. And he's got to be like 2 or 3 years old. He can't be very old. Anyway, here's what Musk said. Listen.
Could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about $30 million,
right.
etc.?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that, there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But they seem to be mysteriously, they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where do they come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it. So, we're looking at, if you look at, say Treasury, for example, basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that if a payment is on the do not pay list, that you don't actually pay it. None of those things are true currently. So the reason that departments can't pass audits is because the payments don't have a categorization code. It's like just a massive number of blank checks just flying out the building. So you can't reconcile blank checks. You've got comment fields that are also blank, so you don't know why the payment was made. And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on the do not pay list. And this, we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation. It can take up to a year to get on the list, and even once on the list is not used. It's mind-blowing. So what we're talking about here, we're really just talking about adding common sense controls that should be present, that haven't been present. So they say, like, well, how could such a thing arise? That seems crazy. When you understand that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization, So then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously. But if people don't receive money, they do complain. And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest. So then when you understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything they approve all the payments at Treasury. Because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints. But now we're saying that, no, actually, we are going to complain. If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely on the things that matter to the people. I mean, these things, it's just common sense. It's not draconian or radical. I think it's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it. So, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't know. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out.
This is what's driving the deep state crazy, because they're digging into areas that no one ever expected, and historically nobody has dug into. They're looking at files that were just left discarded. They weren't examined. Now this Doge operation is pulling everything apart. And Bill, you see these politicians like Maxine Waters and Jamie Raskin, they're out there on their time off protesting. There's a desperation behind what they're doing, because you have to ask yourself, did they benefit from all this?
You're damn right they did, because every agency that's created out there has a little pork car attached to it. So one of their little programs gets attached to it, which I believe that's BS and needs to be done away with. Number two, then when they put it there, what it's really there originally to do is very minuscule to what they do with it, because they hide money, they launder money that eventually goes to them there. That's all it is a slush fund for politicians, dirty politicians. And that's the only reason. If there was nothing to hide, they wouldn't have a problem with this.
Right.
You're hiding governmental secrets. What are the secrets? Are they governmental secrets, or are they secrets of your dirty little hands in the cookie jar? Oh, I think that's it.
Yeah,
you don't want to get caught.
You make $170,000 a year and you retire a multimillionaire. Well, how did you get the other money? How did you make up the difference? Where did it come from?
You see somebody that makes $180,000 a year, but they bought, a $2 million home. Well, they could leverage that. Well, they can't pay all the fees and everything and the maintenance and what everything that goes with it. They can't. So where did they get the money?
Well, they got the money from dipping their fingers into the till. President Trump, I thought that when he started Doge, this would have been done right up front, but apparently it wasn't. And so yesterday, he actually reinforced Doge with a new executive order, and he said this. Well, he did say it, but he's being awfully quiet about it right now.
Yeah.
Let me try it again.
Billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think it's very important. And that's one of the reasons I got elected. I said, we're going to do that. Nobody had any idea it was that bad, that sick, and that corrupt. And it seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. We want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation.
And they're doing this all the time. Last night about 6 o'clock, another judge interfered. He stopped all of I guess Trump was putting a hold on federal payments, and the judge said you can't do that. Now, every one of these judges was left-leaning. Now, people say, wait a second, one of them was appointed by Reagan. But, you know, when you appoint somebody, when you're a president, sometimes you haven't got a lot of choices. You know, you haven't got a very good group of people to choose from. You have maybe an extremist, an extreme leftist, then you have a leftist, and maybe you have a moderate leftist. But you don't have any conservatives in the group. And with this Reagan appointee, he's more leftist than he is conservative. So don't let the fact that he was appointed by Reagan, throw you off. Every one of these judges comes from the left, and they're all showing, it's like whack-a-mole. I really believe that part of this right now is Trump anticipated these challenges, and he wants to see where these judges are, and like in a very predictable way, they are showing themselves. They're raising their hand and saying, you can't do that. And as soon as you do that, you know which judge is the activist as opposed to a real judge. And some of these guys are going to lose their job. You say, well, what do you mean, Jim? Well, I think it's Chip Roy out of Texas. I think he just put yesterday a bill. He's one of the judges he's going to impeach. Well, I say he's going to impeach. He's trying to impeach. He put a motion on the floor to impeach one of these judges. And if it works, there'll be more. You know, if they can prove that there's corruption in the judiciary, then I think you're going to see a lot of these guys pay with their jobs. And the other thing is this, Bill. The Constitution has divided the three, sections of the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive order, right? And they're supposed to be separate, but the executive is kind of special. Even in the Constitution, the executive is kind of special because all that power really rests not with a group of men, but with one man, the President of the United States. He has an exceptional amount of power and authority.
Well, again, that gets down to the perception as reality. And what they did is the people that got into these positions said, we are going to have the assumed power, but it wasn't written that way. Well, so they've over the course of time and osmosis, osmosis,
yeah, that's okay.
Osmosis, yeah. I was trying to put a V in there.
It's early, Bill. I know how. Yes.
No, yeah. Sometimes your lips don't go with your mind.
Your tongue gets wrapped around your eye tooth and can't see what you're saying.
Yeah, but either way, the reality is that these guys are trying to manipulate it and assume power that never was theirs. But that's what they're afraid of losing, and they're afraid of losing, the money that we were talking about earlier with Doge, that the Doge is sitting there exposing. So,
well, what I find interesting is President Trump. He, by doing this executive order, he's challenging the judiciary. See, you would have thought that the initial order to set up Doge would be enough, an executive order. He put it together. But now what he's doing is he's reinforcing it. He's saying to all the federal agencies, you have to work with Doge. You haven't got an option. This is how it's going to be. You have to work with Doge. And, there'll be more judges sticking their heads up. But they know it. The administration knows this. There's a guy, Bill, which, by the way, who just lost his security clearance, Norm Eisen. He is part of the group that lost their security clearances, and he was very big in the behind the scenes movement to get Trump out of office the first time around. Russia. Well, he still hates Trump. He's a leftist activist in a three-piece suit, and he was on MSNBC talking about how and bragging about, by the way, how he hates Doge and how he's partially responsible for trying to bring it down. These people are amazing. You would think they would keep their heads down when there's a lot of fire, but some of these guys just can't help themselves, like this guy.
As the House. Ken Lanian and Lisa Rubin, guys, thank you both very much. And joining us now is Norm Eisen, State Democracy Fund Chair, former special counsel and special assistant to President Obama. He was also an advisor to the impeachment managers during Trump's first impeachment. Norm, it's good to have you with us. What's your reaction to what we're hearing from the president and the vice president about how they see their executive powers?
Anna, I don't think the courts or the American people are going to let the vice president, the president, Mr. Musk, who's an administration official, who's also suggested that the courts may not need to be followed or judges may need to be unlawfully removed. He said that in one of his tweets earlier today. I don't think they're going to get away with that. What you're seeing is a shock and awe assault on the foundations of our democracy with all of these unconstitutional and illegal actions. And a responding shock and awe by my group and our allies and many others, going to court and securing these orders, stopping them. I won orders last week, the very first case, locking Mr. Musk out of the Treasury Department. He has no right to look at that data. Tying the hands of the president, the attorney general, and others who want to dox, reveal the identity of 6,000 FBI agents. They don't have any legal right to do that under the Privacy Act and otherwise. We're in court this morning arguing that Donald Trump's birthright citizenship, rewriting the Constitution, he gets to pick and choose who are citizens of the United States. No, we're in a courtroom right now with our allies fighting that, and we filed a brief on behalf of Anna, almost 24 conservatives. Every presidential administration, from Nixon to Trump's first administration, saying, of course, this offer to force federal employees out without the permission of Congress, illegal. So, and that case will be heard today. We've been involved in many of these cases, and they're going to lose.
Well, let me pick up on that last.
Okay, so understand something about this guy, right? He's the spear that the Democrats are using. He's happy about it. He is an activist. He's a leftist. And what he doesn't tell you is that they go judge shopping, these guys. They'll take something to a judge, and it has happened. One judge will turn it down. Somebody who they think will go along will turn it down. They walk across the hall to another judge activist, and they get a sympathetic ear. And that's how it works. They make it sound like they're deciding great legal challenges. No. This is they're looking for people who share their views, their political views, to support what they're doing. You know,
share their political views or find a judge who they can distract and get him to sign on to something that he hasn't read or knows nothing about.
By the way, what you should do is make note of how many times in the next few days you hear the term constitutional crisis. They have made that their new hook phrase that they're going to try to sell to the American public. Constitutional crisis. You know what happens? A lot of people don't realize this, is that the Democratic Party will send out a 4 a.m. memo to the news media, to their different political politicians, representatives, senators. They all get the same memo, and they give them key phrases to highlight. Say this, and make sure when you're being interviewed you say it so it becomes uniform. We're in the middle of a constitutional crisis. They've done this twice, the same phraseology. They did it in the first term. It didn't work. So what do? They reach back into the bag, get the same phraseology that didn't work, and try it a second time. We're in the middle of a constitutional crisis. They're all saying it. Politicians, news anchors, reporters, they mouth and parrot the same crap.
Well, if you throw something against the wall enough, it sticks. So you see what they're doing, I see what they're doing, but the John Q. public, they kind of, it's like playing a hit record in our day. By the time we're tired of it, the people are just now catching on, and they're throwing this phrase out there, and it takes a while to embed and sink in and gel, and that's what they're doing. People don't know what it's about. They're going, I've heard that before. It must be real, and it's the weight of all the times they say it.
Let me tell you how much they're interfering. My wife, out of the kindness of her heart, wrote these down, and I'm going to try to read her handwriting. She's going to hit me now. Federal spending freeze. These are the judges interfering with this stuff. the Trump administration tried to put a federal spending freeze in place while they check and see where the money's going. It's not forever, by the way.
That's right.
It's only temporary. It's a halt to see where the funds are going. If you're bleeding, you don't continue to let the patient bleed while you're trying to figure out what's going on. You stop the bleeding, then you try to figure out what happened. The other thing, buyout offer to federal employees. That was the we'll give you 8 months, and if you want to quit, let us know now, and you can get 8 months severance. Doge access to the Treasury Department. Not only did they block Doge from accessing the Treasury Department, but this judge blocked the Secretary of the Treasury from accessing the data in the Treasury Department. Think about that. You're assigned to lead a department, and some smart-ass judge somewhere, pardon my language, decides, well, I don't think he should be able to see that information. So all of a sudden, you're heading a division that you can't look at what's going on in it. Transfer trans women inmates to men's prisons. They stopped that. Birthright citizenship order, right? Stop that. Mm-hmm. Disclosing FBI agents who worked on the January 6 cases, interfered with that. U.S. AID worker layoffs, interfered with that. These judges are interfering with everything that this administration is doing. Everything. If you don't think that we are in the middle of a silent revolution here, a silent revolution. Trump knows this. Don't think for 1 second he and his people are just idly sitting by. By the way, when I said that Doge, they put an executive order together reinforcing Doge, that's a challenge to these guys that are attacking him. Oh, really? Well, see whether you like this, and he does a stronger worded executive order. Every executive order has to be considered independently. So they challenged one executive order, so Trump just did another executive order. So it's going to go to the Supreme Court, unfortunately, and you're going to have the judiciary judging the judiciary, which I don't have a lot of faith in, to be honest with you, Bill.
No, I don't either. Yeah, you really don't want it to go to the Supreme Court because nobody's going to win in that situation. But
Right.
That's where it's headed, and that's where we're going. And they're dismantling in a roundabout way by going after Trump, because what he's doing is legitimate and is what you want and I want. Where's our money going? That's all we're trying to find out. Where is our money going? And let's reel in our finances, because we probably could get rid of a lot of the national debt from it. We might find out who the good and bad players are. Well, we are finding that out. Isn't that amazing?
But you cannot imagine on a local scale how a lot of government agencies, like state agencies and stuff like that, who literally suck off the teat of the federal administrations, the budget, who take all of their income basically from the federal government to do their local work. Now there's a freeze. They're panicking. They're panicking like something terrible is happening. No, nothing terrible is happening. There's a halt on the payments for a temporary period of time while they evaluate what's going where and why. That's all.
Trump could say, hey, I'm going to go have dinner now at 6 o'clock, and some Democrat would be there to file a complaint and say, well, no. You can't have dinner now.
Yeah.
Why? Because Democrats have dinners at 6:30.
Mind you, we're not a month into this administration, but I do think that there's a real bump in the road coming along. First of all, you have Democratic representatives literally calling for violence in the streets. Now, mind you, if we did that, they would call that an insurrection and put people in jail for 3 years, 4 years, right? Oh, wait a second, they did, right? But we have representatives from the House of Representatives on the left who readily go out there and call for, violence in the street, and nothing happens to them. I think that's going to change. I truly think that's going to change. I think that in this administration, you're going to start seeing some people who are troublemakers go to jail. I also think people who've been stealing money are going to go to jail too.
You got Maxine, what's her name? Dexter from Oregon. She was out at a rally along with a few other Democrats, and she goes, "We have to F Trump."
Oh yeah. They were all saying it, Bill. There were a bunch of them saying it was like the rallying cry was using the F word.
Well, there wasn't a lot of people there, but they made it sound like there were a lot of people there with their shots and their everything. But I'm sitting there going, okay, why do you have to F Trump? Well, why? Well, what's your reasoning? Because you want to F him on everything, unless you just hate the guy.
Well,
you hate anybody that's not you.
But I think it goes back, Bill, to the fact that there's been a money train that we haven't been able to see, the general public, a money train that they've been riding for decades, and they've become wealthy. They've become wealthy. Again, it goes back to what we said before. How do you make $170,000 a year and become a millionaire? Be a
Well, that's a good trick. I'd like to know that trick.
Be a representative in the U.S. House of Representatives. That's how you do it. You literally you pocket all this money, and they're finally being shown to be the thieves that they are, and they're afraid that the gig is up. And I think that that's why we see these people panicking. That's my own humble opinion.
Well, that's what I think too. And they got their hand in the cookie jar, not on the cookie jar, and the lens is on them. Look, when they hate Trump and they say F Trump, and when they say they hate Musk and F him and Harry Balls and all that, actually they were doing the Harry Balls thing. He came up with the nom de air, Harry Bowles, Bols. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, well, wait until you meet his brother, Gnarly. He's not a nice guy either.
Well, to explain what's going on, Bill he referred to it. Elon Musk has got a sense of humor. He likes to irritate the left. So he took his account and temporarily changed the name on his account from Elon, Musk or whatever, at Elon Musk. He changed it to at Harry, Hairy, Bowles.
Yeah.
Not balls, bowls, okay? I think it was BOLZ, right?
Yeah, BOLZ or BOLS. But either way, they were saying Harry Balls for days. And then I think it was Dana Bash that came out and said, shout out to Harry Balls.
Well, here's what she said, Bill. Yes.
Now, the disruptor-in-chief, Elon Musk, who apparently has adopted the alias, at least he changed his social media handle to Harry Balls, tweeted this morning, "Democracy in America is being destroyed by judicial coup. An activist judge is not a real judge." And as
but she just loves saying that on television. You can see she was delighted to say that. But Musk was getting the last laugh. Musk he wanted the media to have a conniption, and they did.
Yeah, and you know what he also did? The one thing that's happened during this election is young people were emboldened to come over to the Elon Trump camp. And the reason is that they embraced them, and they did it in a respectable way. Now, the Harry Bowles is just a gag. That's all it is. And they bit. So, I got to think there's, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, 23-year-old kids out there going, stupid Democrats. My son's one of those.
Other things that happened yesterday, they sat down, I guess, and asked President Trump, now that, he's trying to work a deal with Gaza, President Trump is. And he's one of his recommendations is that the Palestinians there be taken to Jordan or Egypt, and then they would go into Gaza, I guess the United States and its allies, and clean up the mess. It is uninhabitable right now. If you've seen pictures of the Gaza area, every building in that area has been destroyed. It's mile after mile of rubble, and so. What Trump is saying, look at this. Okay, here's our deal. We'll take all of the refugees from Gaza. We'll move them to Jordan or to Egypt, and we'll build you a nice community in that area. We'll build you nice residences with all the amenities. It'll be a comfortable place to live. You'll really enjoy it. It'll be top shelf. This is what Trump is saying. And then one of these stupid ass, one of these reporters, oh, will the Palestinians be able to go back to their home area? And Trump said, no. He said, you don't understand. It's uninhabitable. There's nothing there.
All the infrastructure, all the pipes, the electric, everything's gone. It is a piece of ground.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're not paying for it. Basically, we are assuming it. We will take it over.
Yes.
We will sit there and do the building on it. But that means that we will have say and a part of that thing forever and always.
And Trump is not going to turn around to the American people and say, you've got to build it. He's going to get other countries to invest. This is a developer. It'll be like, think of it as a shopping mall. You build a shopping mall, then you get all these different stores to come in and invest. And that's what he's doing.
Talking hotels. He's talking restaurants. He's talking about turning a desert into an oasis.
Yep.
A financial, vibrant destination location. And I'm sitting there going, well, that kind of helps everybody.
Yeah. Here's what he said. Listen.
We'll build beautiful communities for the 1.9 million people. We'll build beautiful communities, safe communities. Could be 5, 6, could be 2, but we'll build safe communities a little bit away from where they are, where all of this danger is. In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them, because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could ever. It's not habitable. It would be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. We give them billions and billions of dollars a year.
What he's saying is, look at the first thing we do is we build a beautiful community for the people who've lost their everything, right? We're going to build beautiful communities for them to live in, comfortable, nice communities for people to thrive in. They're not going to be temporary, by the way. He's not saying we're going to build temporary.
Yeah, they're not going to be a tent.
No, exactly, Bill. They're going to be communities that they can live in and grow in these new areas, be either Jordan or Egypt. But you're not going to go back to the Gaza. We're not saying that we're going to clean the rubble and you can come back. That's gone. That's gone. And by the way, it's part of the penalty you pay for supporting terrorists. Okay? Mm-hmm. But Trump didn't say that. Trump's saying, look, we're going to take these refugees and we're going to give them a wonderful place to live. And when he says that, Trump's not talking about building 3x5, with no style. Trump believes in style. So these communities will probably be breathtaking for them. They will never have lived in anything so nice in their lives until they live in these places, because that's how he does stuff. He doesn't want the world to point to these communities and say, look at the dump that they put these refugees in. He doesn't want that, and he's not going to do it. He's going to make darn sure that if, for every buck he puts into it, he gets $1.50's worth of value out of it, because that's how he does stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a terrific idea, but here's the fly in the ointment, Bill. The fly in the ointment is they have screwed up the transfer of the prisoners. The Palestinians have, Hamas has, and now we're waiting on a deadline of noon on Saturday.
Now, here's my question. Time zone, is that noon our time, their time, or what time? I would assume our time.
I do not know, to be honest with you. Maybe he's giving them their time. Maybe it's their time.
Or it's ambiguous for a reason, like, noon what time? Well, I guess you'll have to wait and find out. That, it's an ultimatum. And
I would imagine, Bill, he told them what time.
Yeah.
Noon your time.
It's a healthy ultimatum. It's one that I don't think that they can live up to, because I don't think that there's a lot of survivors left, if there's any at all.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to find out, because they're probably sitting there now with their cheeks spread against the wall, and they're going, all right, what do we do now? We're not going to get our patriots back, our fighters back that are prisoners, because we killed all our hostages that did nothing and we didn't feed them, and they've got a problem. Or they're still alive, but they're a meek.
What's the first thing they did to the hostages they did get? After they fed them and made sure they were healthy, they probably sat down and debriefed them. And what they've probably learned from talking to these hostages is, the hostages have probably said, well, we're it. The other people have died. They have bodies down there, but they haven't got any. We're the last of the survivors. That's why I think Trump is quick with the ultimatum, because he knows, having talked to Netanyahu and other people, that there aren't people that are. Go ahead.
Here's what this does. This allows the American people that might be skeptical to be outraged and find out what's really there. Not Trump's word, but just let it be exposed. And there's a deadline there. So I don't think it's going to be good news when we get to the weekend and we get there and we see that these people are dead. And what is the American reaction then going to be?
I'll tell you what the left is going to say. The left is going to say they were alive and we killed them. The left, they're not patriots, Bill, anymore.
No, they're not.
The left that we see today are socialists. Are socialists, all right? I'm talking about the Elizabeth Warrens. I'm talking about the people of that ilk, the Ilhan Omar. We're talking about AOC. These are leftists. The people who, the Democrats, the traditional Democrats that we have known and loved for decades, are the people like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. And what they do, they migrated to MAGA because MAGA was more like their old party than what their party is.
I think there's going to be more people falling out of the Democrat Party. And what really should happen to the Democrats is the AOCs and the Elizabeth Warrens are the ones that should get the hell out of the party and let the party get back to what it was. But there's people controlling the party that they don't put the right leaders in. Even James Carville, that nut, realized, that there's got to be some, there's got to be some stupid idiot in charge that's coming up with all these dumb things that they're throwing out there. Yeah, James, they're that dumb. And, maybe it's time you take your liberal policies, and if you can't take back over the party, just form a new one and say,
Well, the thing is, Bill, I think they're slowly but surely destroying the party. People say, well, wait till they come back in 28. That may not happen. They may be beyond saving. It may only get worse for the Democrats if they continue down this path. I mean, look at even these rallies. These rallies, most of the world looks at these rallies and think, what fools they are. What lunatics? Do you want to side with these people? You have Maxine Waters screaming about gangsta and all this stuff. You want to side with these people? Is this where you're hanging your hat? For Pete's sakes, use your senses.
Well, they've divided forever. Since its inception, the Democratic Party has divided, but it's gotten out of hand what they've done. I mean, division has been a tactic all throughout history. Divide and conquer. But it became too much of a mantra for them. And now the division, the lies are so blatant, so obvious that they probably can't survive.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where all of this takes us. You think of how fast things are moving right now with this administration. Again, what's it going to be, 3 weeks on Monday? 3 weeks on Monday, for Pete's sakes. It seems like Trump has been in office for a year already. So much has happened.
3 weeks. Imagine what's going to be done within 100 days. Now, they're doing everything they can to block him, and they're going to keep trying to block him with every breath of their fiber. I mean, you talked about Elizabeth Warren. A year ago, she was looking for a code of ethics for judges. Yeah. This year, she's not.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't benefit her. I mean, her opinion sways with what's good for Lizzie baby.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren is she swings with the wind. If she finds something doesn't fit her properly, well, then she changes her opinion without any problem at all. As a matter of fact, I have some audio which is interesting. One cut, the first cut you're going to hear is of July 2024, and then you're going to hear her answer talk about the same topic again in February of 2025. So is that what, 6 months? August, September, October, November, December. Yeah, about 6 months, 6-7 months.
Yeah, 6, 7. Yeah.
Here's how she changed on a topic. Listen carefully.
We have a Supreme Court that has basically jumped the guardrails and is out there giving power to the president, saying that the president can commit any act that the president wants, saying that Congress cannot authorize agencies to act. So we've got a Supreme Court that is actively undermining our democracy. My view right now is the courts are where we are hanging on to our constitutional structure. They still have the power to hold everybody else in this country in contempt if they do not follow lawfully issued court orders.
I mean, this lady's amazing. She goes from one side of the argument to the other side of the argument. She does it within 6 months, and she does it without any problem at all.
Did you hear the last phrase, though? If you do not follow lawfully issued court orders, she's telling them to break the law.
What she's trying to do is she's trying desperately to justify what the left is doing right now with these. And by the way, and I know people who have said to me, oh, this guy's doing all these unlawful things, and these people are good people, well-meaning people, but they're Democrats. They live in their own little world. They don't pay attention to what's going on in the news. Well, giving them credit, a lot of people have jobs. A lot of people spend the whole day doing other stuff, so they're not getting the news. It's not like a topic they study, So they're getting it in dribs and drabs, and many times they're getting it from unreliable sources like MSNBC and CNN, and they think that they're getting the news, and they're not, and they're getting propaganda. But anyway, we could go on and on. Hey, I want to play another cut. Tom Homan was talking about sending people to jail. Tom Homan is an amazing character. He's like a character from the old West. He's the border czar, and he's taking his job very seriously. Listen.
Czar Tom Homan. Tom, where are these leaks coming from?
Well, look, we think it's coming from inside, and we know the first leak of Aurora is under current investigation. We think we identified that person under investigation right now. The California leak, Secretary Noem, she's correct. Some of the information we're receiving tends to lead toward the FBI. But I talked to the Deputy Attorney General all this weekend. They've opened up a criminal investigation, and they have promised that not only this person lose their job and lose their pension, they're going to go to jail.
Okay, so what he was talking about was they've planned some raids on these different criminal groups, these illegal criminal groups. I'm talking about, when I say illegal, I'm talking about people who came across the border illegally in their criminal groups, and ICE had planned these raids, and all of a sudden somebody leaked the raid information to the criminals, and they weren't there when they showed up. So what Homan's saying is, it's somebody who works in the government. You're not going to just lose your pension or your job. You're going to jail. And I mean, you're dealing with the wrong people right now. And I do think that you're dealing with not just the wrong people. You're dealing with a whole different administration that's going to respond differently in the long term to a lot of things. Right now, Trump is being cool about a lot of things with these judges and stuff. And these judges are wheeling their power, thinking that these radical judges think they got a lot of clout, right? I think that they're going to end up ruining the day, as they would say, that they stepped into the political arena, because Trump has 77 million people behind him, and he knows it. He has the people behind him. He was voted into office by one of the largest pluralities in the history of our country, and he knows it. And I think that in the long term, these people are going to regret it. Right now, he's kind of letting them, run out the rope. But you know what happens when you run out the rope at some point you're going to run out of rope.
Of the rope. Yeah, you're at the end of the rope and you're screwed.
Yep. So anyway, Bill, a lot of things are going to happen today too. I mean, every day this guy's in office, something major happens. Word came down yesterday. They think there's going to be another Russian hostage traded possibly today. Now the word isn't. It's not definite. But see, I think the difference is, you had an administration, a chief executive. All he did is badmouth Putin. All he did when he was talking about Putin was say bad stuff about Putin.
Well, that's a form of negotiation by Biden.
Well, and he didn't
calling you names,
and he didn't talk to Putin either. I think Trump picks up the phone and has a personal relationship with the. And you may say, well, is that good? You want to know your enemy. You want to keep out of a war. You want to keep out of a war. You have a personal relationship with the guy who you may be fighting with. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't know that Putin necessarily likes Trump, but he respects him. But I think actually he does, because Putin, for the longest time, really wanted to. It was the Democratic Party that pushed him away and turned him sour. He was trying to, mold things and almost sit there and copy, what the United States was doing. Your history is your history, no matter what. But it doesn't mean that you can't sit there and go, yeah, we want that too. But when we're sitting there going, no, you can't be a member of our club, because it's a club. And then what are you going to do?
I think Putin has the highest regard for Trump. I think he even said he said something recently like, everybody's now that we have a leader again over here, the countries are going to fall in line, something along those lines. Things are going to get better. Yeah. I would not be surprised if Trump doesn't sit down with Putin and they come to an agreement with Zelensky of some kind of ceasefire in the Ukraine, and maybe they can work something out with the border, and maybe this thing can end. Because the way it's going now, I mean, the past administration, folks, did nothing to stop the war in the Ukraine other than fuel it. It was a fire that they kept pouring gas on with money. Maybe Trump's going to say, wait a second, this has got to stop. People are dying.
Yeah, and if we're going to sit there and get into a fight or flex our muscle, then get into a fight and flex our muscle and show that we've got a lot of muscle, to where you go, I don't want to be in this fight. Let's shake hands and work something out, because Trump is that way. Biden, I think he was all more in it just to sit there and do a show, do a little dance, sing a little song, and let's make some money for the industrial complex, because I get some of that money too. It's like a sales commission for them.
Yeah, the military-industrial complex cannot be crazy. Although a lot of these people also have businesses in the private sector, other industries. And Trump is talking, he put his tariff yesterday, 25% tariff on foreign steel. Of course, people went, oh, what's that going to do? It's going to raise the prices. No, it's going to bring steel industry in the United States back into business.
Yeah, we used to make aluminum in, I think, down in West Virginia, they had a
Aliquippa, in places like in Pennsylvania, and places like that.
There were aluminum mills, factories, and they were big. And all of a sudden, we get our stuff overseas.
And don't think for one second we've lost the ability to do. We can get back on an industrial footing. You may say, well, how can we do that? I point to World War II. In World War II, we had no military-industrial complex, and we needed a lot of stuff because we had nothing. And all of a sudden, in the snap of a finger, the administration at the time, the FDR administration, put together essentially a military equipment czar. They didn't call it that, but and that guy's job was to get private industry to convert into military industry and create stuff like tanks and airplanes, and they did it in like 6 months. So don't think that we can't bring the steel industry back to our country. We're not in that bad a condition right now. We have plants. All we have to do is maybe step up production in these plants. Put a third shift on where there hasn't been one for years.
Step up production, bring in new technology. Technology was coming in before, but go ahead and, it's changed leaps and bounds. We can sit there and really modernize it and make it safe, and we may as well do it.
Hey, before we wrap this up, I thought this was interesting, Bill. We have a lot of ICE guys. They're busy rounding up all these illegals and gangsters and stuff like that. And Trump said, I think we could also get the new IRS agents. Mm-hmm. The new IRS agents that they just hired, like 80,000 of them, who were sitting around figuring out what they're going to do. Well, why don't we just deputize them as ICE agents and increase our law enforcement size by 80,000 fresh new agents? Now, I don't know how that's going to go over. A lot of guys may have become IRS agents because they thought their job would be to, enforce the tax laws and not facing these criminal gangs. But I think that if they're a federal agent and you've been trained, and these guys will have been trained, then transfer them over to ICE. See how that works out. Increase it.
Well, you can go over to ICE, or you take your buyout and go bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly. Also, you hear about what happened night before last at Amtrak's Union Station? There was a murder in Union Station in Washington. Guy was shot right in the public area, which I thought was kind of
Where
amazing.
are the cameras? Where are the cameras?
They must have cameras. I would think they would have cameras all over the place. They haven't shown any footage of it.
Why?
I think it goes, Bill, to law enforcement in D.C. It's municipal law enforcement. They have a mayor, Muriel Bowser, who is just inept. And as a matter of fact, there's a representative right now who has a bill on the floor of Congress requiring that the District of Columbia be transferred, all of the government be transferred back to the federal government, meaning the federal government would control the police and the fire and all of the politics. And essentially, because it's owned, by the way, people don't realize this, it's owned by the federal government, the District of Columbia. The municipal government is almost I don't know, they just pass it off, whereas they can take it back. The federal government can say, no, we're taking it all back. The District of Columbia is owned by the federal government. We're going to control it and run it. They can increase the police force, or they'll assume the police force. But there's a lot of murders in D.C. right now. I mean, it's awful.
Weren't they talking about giving it some kind of statehood or something like that?
Oh, no, the Democrats are always saying they want it to become a state. It was never designed to be a state.
No, it's not big enough. But either way, yeah, that'd be great. Take a Democrat stronghold and let's turn it into a state so you can get, You
know what it was? Seriously, it was built on literally a swamp.
Yeah.
In 1795 or thereabouts, if you went to D.C., it would have been a big marshland, swamp. And even during the time of Lincoln back in the 1860s, it had a stench to it. It didn't smell very nice. Not partly because of all the smoke and stuff, but also because there was still a lot of swampland there.
Yeah.
A lot of the monuments we see today, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and the reflecting pool, that was all marsh. That was all stinky stuff. Anyway.
No, we need to keep the stinky stuff in
the halls of Congress.
Yeah, that's right, because there's a lot of stink in there.
Exactly.
Although the stink is diminished, there's still a lot of stink in there.
But you know what doesn't stink?
Well, our coffee, that doesn't stink.
No, but it does smell good.
Yes, it don't stink, it don't stank, it don't stunk. It's just good.
Yes. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, our medium roast coffee. It's a delicious cup of coffee. We also make a decaf for those of you who can't have the high test. And we also make another brand of it called Mappa. Make America Percolate Again, a completely separate packaging and stuff. So we're actually branching out into the coffee business. Before you know it, we'll have a plantation somewhere down south growing coffee beans ourselves.
And trucks going around that say Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee.
And Bill will be wearing a Panama hat and smoking big Havana cigars. It'll be a great life. And am I jumping too far ahead, Bill?
Yeah. Hey, man, those ain't cigars, man. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
trust me,
we learn another side of Bill.
No, actually, you don't. Actually, that's never been a side of me.
Hey,
it's fun to kid about.
It is. Listen, if you want some Right Side coffee, go to rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. It's there. It's available right now, and it's worth a try. I think you'll like it. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee, and do it today. You won't regret it. You won't regret
Just a cup in the morning will make you percolate all day.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Yeah, it's good.
I percolate a lot myself sometimes when I drink too much coffee, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we're just about done, my friend. Anything you want to add before we wrap this up?
Well, I haven't turned on the news, so probably it's a good thing. So it's a good point just to sit there and bid our dues and get the heck out of here.
Well, then why don't you do your dues and get the heck out of here?
All right. I'm going to pay my dues, too. Until then, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.